grilled cheese to me, it's the quintessential comfort food. It's the ingredients are pretty easily accessible no matter where you're at, and it's something that you can start out even as a young child and learn how to make. And so most people in their lives, probably the earliest memory they have cooking is probably of a grilled cheese sandwich.
Right.
The first thing that I really had the freedom to cook on the stove by myself is a grilled cheese sandwich, which we've come a long way from the sandwich with a slice of American cheese in between, and that
supermarket white bread.
Right. And so the grilled cheese has evolved, and it's something that you can tailor to whatever client you have. My grilled cheese, most people, if you have a grilled cheese, you want to be able to slice it, and you want to have that cheese pull.
Right.
You want to have that cheese that just strings out through there. And so my grilled cheese that I love to make has Munster cheese, mozzarella cheese, and a little bit of sharp cheddar, and then a few slices of bacon for that bacony, salty punch.
All right, well, let's get to it. Let's make one.
All right, cool. So what I like to do is I don't like to operate on a really hot pan. I like to use carbon steel. That's just a good, solid pan that after you've used it enough and you've built up the seasoning just like cast iron, it's going to be non-stick. And so carbon steel is always my go-to whenever I make a grilled cheese, because I don't have to worry about that bread sticking. And then we don't have to have a non-stick pan with a Teflon coating or a coating like that off gases whenever you heat it up. And so it's just a much better alternative than a Teflon coated pan. I start out with a good, fresh sourdough bread. I enjoy the texture, and I also enjoy the flavors of the sourdough. So it's a lot better than if you bought, your supermarket white bread. It's going to give you a lot more flavor. And so besides the cheese, that is, that's kind of the star of the show. So you also get a little bit of wow factor because you don't have the square supermarket bread, if you will. I put a considerable amount of clarified butter on the bread. So clarified butter is if you take a stick of butter and you melt it down on low heat, you'll notice that butter, it'll separate. You'll have some little foamy things that float up to the top, and then down in the bottom there's some kind of murky stuff that settles down to the bottom. And that's the butter separating into its three parts. All right, you have the butter fat, which is that beautiful yellow substance that you recognize as butter. Like if you're going to put it on popcorn, that's clarified butter. The stuff that settles down in the bottom is water, and then the stuff that floats up to the top is just butter solids. All right, we're going to put that down. I start with a slice of Munster cheese, break it apart. That way we cover that bread. I come in with some freshly shredded mozzarella. That's going to offer us, those two cheeses, a considerable amount of creaminess. The Munster is very creamy. The mozzarella, of course, is creamy as well.
What makes the difference in cheeses as to how readily they melt and how much they get that stretch?
It depends on the moisture content, and it also depends on the aging and just kind of the process of making the cheese. So like cheddar, it goes through a process called cheddar. And they make it, and they press it, and then they age it. And so through that process of pressing it and compacting it, they squeeze out a lot of the moisture, and that's the cheddaring process. All right, we're going to take this.
We top that with a few slices of bacon.
Okay. We're actually going to go back in here. We're going to go ahead and add an additional slice of Munster cheese, just for that extra creaminess.
Where are you on the mayonnaise controversy? People sometimes say spread mayonnaise on the outside instead of butter.
So I'm a supporter of it. I'm making a, if you will, just a simple, easy grilled cheese at home. And I'm using some sliced American or just a piece of sliced cheddar. I'm going to use mayonnaise on the outside because that's going to give me a little bit of zip. That's going to give me a little bit of tang. And it's going to offer a little bit more flavor than if I was to use just butter. So I'm going to let that rock and roll. I'm going to cover it too to help kind of trap some of that heat and help melt that cheese throughout.
That's one thing I was going to ask you. One thing that happens to me sometimes when I make a grilled cheese is that the outside gets toasted before the inside melts.
Right.
So is this the tip for that?
This is a tip for that, and you don't want to go too fast.
Right.
Kind of low and slow. It's kind of like cooking bacon.
Right.
All right. If you try to throw bacon into a hot pan, you're going to end up with the burnt ends and burnt pieces, and it's still going to be really, really wiggly. Same concept with a grilled cheese. If you try to go too fast, you're going to end up with a super crispy outside and unmelted cheese. So low heat, slow, cover it. That way you steam it in essence, and you melt that cheese all the way throughout. And we're going to take it and we'll check. Getting some beautiful color under there. Let it go a little bit longer.
So the traditional pairing, or at least the one that most people think of, is tomato soup.
Yes.
What other sorts of things would you serve with a grilled cheese sandwich?
So grilled cheeses, they're versatile. One of the really good things that goes with the grilled cheese is basil pesto. So you can take basil pesto, smear it on the inside so it melts with that cheese. It just creates a nice, beautiful pop of, floral, bright flavors in there with those cheeses.
That's my favorite, with a couple of slices of tomato.
Right.
Yeah.
Put some tomato in there, and then if you take that and you dip it in some creamy tomato soup, then it's mind blowing. And then you can get as crazy with the grilled cheese as you like. One of my other favorites is a lot of sharp cheddar, a little bit of Munster, and then some barbecue sauce and pulled pork. So a good smoky pulled pork grilled cheese sandwich. That is also one of my go-tos. If I've smoked a pork butt and I have leftover pork, that's something that I enjoy doing as well.
It's sort of like pizza in a way. You can just sort of put what you like on there.
You
right?
really can. And you say that, one of my kids' favorite is mozzarella cheese and pepperoni.
Mm-hmm.
And you do that, and slice it, and then give them pizza sauce to dip that grilled cheese in. That's one way they like it as well. So when we start getting that pull as that cheese starts to melt, it's a good indicator that we are headed the right direction.
Yep. I guess you want to serve these pretty quickly.
You want to serve them nice and hot. That way that cheese doesn't have time to cool down and kind of solidify. That way your customer gets it, and that they still have that cheese pull. All right. So we have good brown all the way around. Good crisp. We have a beautiful cheese pull on the inside. We're going to take our grilled cheese and we're going to go to our cutting board.